Before winter, Kashima wore sportswear to play outdoor ball, and all the kids were shivering. At that moment, Uesta arrived with a homemade vehicle. To the kids, he seemed like a weird person, making them run away in panic. Takuma hid in the bushes and was mistaken for a bad person by a man, so Hayato kicked the man, not realizing he was the twins' father. He was Mamizuka, a famous actor who always covered himself to avoid attention. He came to visit Takuma and Kazuma, his twin sons, whom he hadn't had time to play with for a long time. However, Kazuma was still scared of him, so Mamizuka sadly left. On his way to school, Mamizuka was discovered by a female student, and soon all the girls surrounded him, asking for autographs. Kashima and Hayato arrived with the twins, calling him, Dad. Hearing his sons calling him, Mamizuka tried to reach them but couldn't escape the crowd. Eventually, Umi, the teacher and Mamizuka's wife, came to their rescue. Threatening that anyone who didn't return to class would be punished by the president of the country, Umi managed to save Mamizuka from the crowd of girls. Umi was Mamizuka's wife and the mother of his children, and he played a role in a movie where he portrayed a creepy guy obsessed with kids, which was why Kazuma was scared of him. Finally, the twin brothers called their dad, and Mamizuka was moved, hugging his children in the middle of the schoolyard. Tonight, the babysitting club is in need of recruiting more members, so Kashima personally wrote an announcement. The school bulletin boards were covered, so Yuka suggested checking out how other clubs were operating. The kids were marching and dancing, causing a ruckus, and Kashima followed them closely. When they reached a club that seemed quite scary, they were frightened to see a spooky ghost, which turned out to be the club's assistant and also a teacher, who is also the mother of the club's leader. She warmly invited Kashima to join the club, seeing potential in her. In Unit 1, Kashima discovered that everyone in the club seemed to say the same phrase to whoever they talked to. Suddenly, Koka-Aro tugged at Kashima's pants and pointed out the kids who were running after the smell of freshly baked cookies. Kashima had to quickly chase after them and found them in the kitchen. At that moment, Inomata was also there baking cookies with her club's friends. The teacher scolded the kids for running around like that, which was dangerous, and scared them all. They all wanted to stay and eat cookies, but Kashima pulled them away, not wanting to bother Inomata, who seemed quite independent. Taka, a kid from the club, complained and demanded to have a sandwich. Kashima took him away to watch the sports club where Hayato was playing. When he saw his brother, Taka called out loudly and got hit on the head with a pen. Watching everyone happily playing ball, Kashima felt a little envious, and only when her chicken was fully grown did she realize that she had a lot of UCD in one place, while she went around downloading flyers to recruit members. Hayato was coerced by Coca-Cola into joining the club because he was dragged here by his younger brother, Otaro, who seemed to understand his older brother's desire to have fun with friends. The mischievous kids also went through Kashima's test and received a bag of cookies from Inomata. From then on, Kashima's mood became much happier, and the babysitting club gained a new member, Hayato. Sunday morning, the club president woke up early but was surprised to find that Kashima was sick. So, the club president hurriedly took Koka-Aro out to avoid the little boy catching the illness. Then, the two of them went into the kitchen to cook something. Singer Mai-Ann Kato took charge of squeezing lemons. The kids exerted all their strength on their small hands but could only manage to squeeze out a few drops of juice, struggling to compete with each other. When they were about to bring the lemonade to the club president, she gave half to Koka-Aro, allowing him to sit and continue squeezing while she went to attend to Kashima, who was still asleep. The club president instructed her assistant, Seikawa, to be gentle when waking him up, as he was dreaming of meeting his parents before their accident. She believed he was having a heartwarming dream, but Kashima woke up crying and sobbing. When he woke up feeling tired, he saw Koka-Aro lying on the bed, and the club president handed him a glass of lemonade that Koka-Aro had previously squeezed. Her elder brother comforted her and even gently patted her head. The club president then left the room to avoid getting infected by her elder brother's illness. Kashima was very concerned for her younger brother but didn't want him to be separated from her elder brother, so she gave him some disinfectant spray to protect himself from the virus. She spent the entire day trying to comfort her little brother. It was an autumn day, and while Kashima was changing diapers for the baby, Midori, a red-haired young man from the club, came in. He immediately covered his face, saying he smelled the scent of children's urine. This red-haired guy's name was Inui, and he came to the club to find Midori, the girl from Ko-Avatar's house. He claimed to be her future stepfather and was here to take care of her for the rest of his life. Kashima told him that Ko-Avatar was already married and said that age didn't matter in love. She wanted to protect Midori and didn't want to let her be taken away. When an USDA arrived, Kashima was finally relieved. He asked Lazada about Sawatari's family and found out that her husband was an archaeologist who often worked abroad, which caused conflicts and unhappiness in their family. Kashima sought help from Hayato to resolve the issue, but the boys didn't seem to care and ignored the matter. When they returned to the club, they found Inui being attacked by Taka with a large booger. Kashima took this opportunity to remind Inuyasha not to intrude into other people's family matters, and the idols shouldn't give up because they thought Ko Sawatari's husband was back. Just then, teacher Sawatari arrived to pick up Midori, and Inui assumed she was his wife. Midori suddenly cried and ran towards Sawatari, wanting to be with her father. However, it turned out that Inui had mistaken the situation, and Sawatari's husband was actually away for a work trip and had not abandoned his family. Inui thanked Sawatari for her support and sat in a corner, feeling down as if he had just experienced a breakup. Kashima tried to comfort him, and he eventually realized that he had been acting foolishly. The mischievous kids then tried to get Kashima to play with them, but Kirin, the little girl, suddenly said she didn't want to play with them anymore and wanted to focus on studying to become a cool magician. New York retorted that magic wasn't real, but Kirin insisted that she wanted to become a skilled magician with cool magic spells. The argument escalated, with Kirin challenging the other kids to prove that magic was real. Kashima didn't want Kirin to be disappointed, so she asked Inomata for help. Inomata rushed to the library to find documents proving that magic existed to reassure Kirin. She brought back various materials and showed them to Kashima. But here are all stories of living corpses, so witches can't show them to the kids. On the way back, Kashima spotted little Kirin standing on a high place, trying to practice flying, but she got scared and ran back to catch her. The daring little girl cried loudly because she tried so hard but still couldn't fly. Ba Chu Tik happened to pass by and told her that she needed to practice for 100 years to fly. Despite her tears, Kirin eventually calmed down and made up with the others. The next day, while Kashima was drying clothes, Colorado went into the bushes alone to play and came back with a child stuck in a fence. Kashima went to check on the child but got hit on the hand, shocking Kato, who thought it was his sister. Kashima tried to ask the child about what happened, but the child refused to answer. So she went back to drying clothes and contacted Maizu to ask what was going on. Kotaro was standing there, observing the child, when suddenly the child shouted, "Kuto! Run away!" It turned out that a weird guy appeared from nowhere and grabbed the child. Inomata was following him. Eiji had told her that she wanted to scare Kotaro a little. As it turned out, Kashima had called Eiji to ask about something and Eiji, who was working overtime, asked Hinata to go with her to see what was happening. As soon as they saw each other, they recognized the child as Lee Jun's younger brother Kichi. Hearing the siblings talking with Lee Jun, Kichi revealed that Lee Jun, despite having to work and study at the same time, was always absent from school. This made Inomata feel a bit jealous. For example, she always ranks first in the school, but it's because she doesn't have to worry about anything other than studying. Hinata sternly questioned the boy, "What's going on?" The boy just buried his head in the fence and started crying, saying that his family is very poor, and they don't have money to buy toys. So when he saw this mansion, he wanted to come in and take a look. At this moment, another boy also sneaked into the fence and said that Kichi had been patient, but seeing his classmates boasting about their new toys made him feel very sad. This reminded Kashima of when she was younger and had a very nice game set. She invited Kichi to play with her, but he declined, saying he would make his own game set. Hearing this, both boys realized their situation and no longer demanded anything, thanking Aya for pulling them out and then leaving. At that time, Aya also went to give the game set back to the two brothers, as she knew their wish and had taken extra shifts to buy back the game set from a colleague. She also knew that Nia, the cook, pretended to be tough when they were kids. One day, Kashima needed to go to the chemistry lab during lunch break, so she asked her big brother Uesta in the kids' club Lazada. Unexpectedly, they discovered that Kashima had left her bento box at the Namdin club. Kato insisted on bringing it to his sister himself, so Zeta reluctantly agreed and asked Indonesia to accompany him, promising to return the favor later with a picture of their teacher Sakura and her child Colorado. Wherever Colorado went, the older members noticed him because of his cuteness. They wanted to help, but they were afraid of making the boy feel self-conscious, so they just watched from afar. In the classroom,